Hey, folks, and welcome to another episode of Financial Fitness with Patrick, presented by Soaring Prophets Media. And folks, another interesting week in the markets. Little low in the volatility and the volume this week when we look at the stock market. We've been following the QQQs, the NASDAQ. We've been looking at a number of things this week. We got a bridge that went down. It's going to be an interesting time for the next little while as far as inflationary concerns with the Fed, Jerome Powell. But this week, we're going into Easter. Hopefully all of you have an opportunity to spend time with your family, your loved ones, and kind of get back to the meaning of what that means for people. But today we've got a real expert, a gentleman and a bit of a scholar here that we've had an opportunity to meet in the green room before we came on here. And Ron Douglas is of mentoringgiants.com. Really just a cool guy. He's one of those guys you wouldn't mind sitting around having a beer with and talking a little bit. Ron, thank you for joining us today, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, pal. So Ron, your background is multi-time entrepreneur. We talked before about 40 exits in business and the difference between starting a business and exiting. And I don't think a lot of people quite understand the dynamic of what it is to start a business, create an entity, get it up and going, bring on employees, but then knowing when it's time to sell that off and move on. And one of the things that you branded yourself with mentoringgiants.com, that's kind of an interesting selling feature that you've discussed is 40 exits. It's not that I've started 100 companies. It's that I've exited 40 times. And that shows that you've created value. And it sounds like what you folks are doing with mentoringgiants.com is creating value for people. But before we get to that, you kind of come from a unique background, 18 years old, paralyzed in an automobile accident, broke your back. That'd be a very difficult journey for a young man. Now you're in real estate, you're a business mentor. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that trajectory, that tenacity, that stick-to-itiveness that got you to where you are now, and what that would be like.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. And I started out my adult life at 18 with a broken back, paralyzed from the waist down in a car wreck. And that was a tough go. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to recover from that, to be honest. So I spent a lot of sleepless nights in the therapy room, and getting kicked. Nurses always, catching me and sending me back to my room. But I spent a lot of sleepless nights in there, and trying to get the feeling back in my legs and get to walking again. Luckily, the swelling went down and took some of the pressure off of my back, and I was able to get feeling back and able to learn to walk again, and was able to make a recovery. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to pursue the career I was already going after during that time. So I had to go a different direction, which was joining the prison system of Texas, which was really wasn't in the cards.
The boot.
Texas.
Like that's a badass job, brother.
Yeah. It was. Then I got assigned to all the Supermaxes after that. It was my job to go around and open up the Supermax farms.
Wow. Yeah. So, Ron, how do you go from sitting in your bed wondering what's next, jumping into a prison system? So I see that you're a young man. You're thinking, how am I going to put hand to mouth? I got to provide for myself. I need a job. I need something to do here. And the prison system is not a bad, job. JOB. It's not a bad job.
And that's all I knew is my dad was in the military for 22 years. So all I knew was go get a job and retire. Right. And so, my original trajectory was to join the Army, underwater demolitions. That it was going to be the MOS. I was going to do that. And obviously that trajectory didn't work out. So I was trying to find some other way to retire. Still at this point, I had never in my life had met an entrepreneur, didn't know what an entrepreneur was, couldn't spell the word. So I had, because I had to do so much physical therapy to recover, I obviously went the extreme the other way where I was big. I was bench pressing 400 pounds. I was running, 3 to 5 miles a day, no problem. I I was in really, I was obviously the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course that's long gone, but
Well,
yeah, back then it was,
now you're chasing 8 kids around. Your wife
yeah.
doesn't seem to be very fast at 8 kids. You got to get her to kind of a little bit more there too. But now you've left that, you've moved to
Yeah.
Colorado, and you've sort of taken on a slightly different path that way in your personal life than what you've done in the business sense. You look. It seems like you've looked for privacy and solitude in what you've done with that. But how do you work with individuals in your mentoring aspect with the mentoringgiants.com? Because you're working with people now that might not have any experience, might not be able to speak French words like entrepreneur, and be able to bring them to the table to do amazing things in their own personal life so that they can one day have that solitude that you've created for yourself.
Well, yeah, I'm a firm believer that there's not one person out there that can't be a millionaire. I mean, everybody has the talents, gifts, and abilities to become a millionaire. A lot of times they just don't have the right pieces in the right puzzle pieces in the right place, right? And so, um, I used to take on a challenge called 6 Figures in 6 months. I did it all the time. It was just kind of a hobby of mine, and I built up these 6 figure businesses in 6 months. Well, after about the 10th time, I was building these up in 30 days and 60 days. And I was just like, it just wasn't fun anymore. You know what I mean? I'd taken all the fun out of it, and it was almost too easy at that point. And I realized that, helping people get to $1 million status is life-changing for a lot of people. And so I decided that I wanted to go that route, and helping people get to that million, and when I say, I'm not talking about $1 million valuation on a company. I'm talking about actually $1 million in the bank, in your account.
Yeah.
And so, helping guys get there, guys and gals get there, seemed to be something that really resonated with me, and I was able to help. So
yeah,
that's where
so let's talk a little bit about that, because you were on the Discovery Channel. You had a show there, Blue Collar Backers, and I think it kind of goes to exactly what you were just talking about. Maybe you can describe a little bit first the show. My understanding is that you were working with blue collar workers, blue collar industries, growing and substantiating their business and going from there. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, I was approached by Discovery Channel. I had helped a couple of businesses that knew some producers at Discovery Channel, and helped them with their business. And anyway, when they heard that Discovery was wanting to do a TV show like this, they're like, "Hey, you got to contact Ron." And so they contacted me. I ended up accepting the deal and doing one season. And it was a bucket list item. I always thought it'd be kind of cool, to be on TV. Hey, why not? Let's give it a try. So I did it, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But then when they wanted me to do 5 more seasons, I kind of turned it away. But the opportunity, what I realized from all that was I did like helping the blue collar businesses, and I really specialized in blue collar businesses. I mean, I've done white collar, I've done internet, I've done everything. But as far as building a business and building it quick, man, there's nothing like being on a deadline on a Discovery Channel TV show to help motivate you to get build this business quickly, as quick as possible. So that helped that skill set.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. I was on a reality TV show. So we're in Canada, and I was on a nationally televised reality TV show when I was a young man. And it was nothing cool like yours. And we got 1 season 2. It was what it was. But I remember going through the experience and thinking, like, if this is Hollywood, like, it's all bullshit. Like, all of this is bullshit. Like, what is going on, right? And
Yeah.
the reality TV aspect back then was Big Brother-esque, right?
Mhm.
The difference from what you folks were doing is out there is you were in the trenches, right? You're dealing with guys that he's got the tire shop down the street. That's really tangible. There's a guy sitting at home right now that can be like, hey, I can open a tire shop. I can open a plumbing shop. I can open an electrician. Obviously you got some skilled trades there, but it's not out of reach. Mine was, I was the younger guy in a love triangle. Wasn't quite as cool, right? Exactly. When you first get that phone call from the Discovery Channel and you're like, hey, we've got this opportunity, kind of a bucket list item, like you said, what do you start doing with these guys in that show? What does that kind of look like? What does the script look like?
Well, the first thing I told him is I'm not going to fake it. I told him, I said, if you want fake, I'm not your guy. I said, let's just end this conversation now.
I love that.
And they said, no, we really want to do this. And I was like, okay. But I said, I'm seriously not kidding when I say I said, I will walk off in the middle of the freaking show. I said, I've seen this bullcrap before. And, and I've pointed out some of these reality shows and they're like, no. And so I said, okay. I said, all right, then I'll do it. And, but there's a couple of catches to this, that I didn't foresee, obviously. And so, one of them was the fact that I don't get to choose which businesses I was backing because, there's a lot of businesses that I backed, that I helped, that became super successful that never made the show.
Interesting.
They actually took them off the show because they said it was too, their words, they said it was so successful that it would seem unrealistic. I took a guy that was making $1 million in sales a year, and in 6 months I flipped him around, and he was set up, and now he's making consistently $10 million in sales a year now. Wow. And so we 10x'd his business, and they're like, nah, that's not really collar. That's just, that's a little too much. And I was like, oh man, that's the most success. That was one of the biggest successes. Yeah. So anyway, that was one of the part of the show that I didn't get to pick.
Ron, tell us a little bit about that process then. You walk in the door, maybe you can even use that as an example. You walk in the door, you've got somebody that, maybe has a business, maybe is looking to acquire a business, and you came as a referral from Deb Curtis. She's out there financing this for people, these types of business opportunities for people with the small business loans that they provide. But when you walk in the door, what are some of the things that you're, first of all, looking at? And then what are the growth trajectories that you're trying to execute on? Like a 10x growth trajectory, not a bad return for making a few tweaks. What are some of those things you look at?
Well, I look at systems, first of all. Right. If people have systems in place, which a lot of people surprisingly do not. Yeah. I look for red flags. How much did you make? Oh, shit. Right. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, you already got a problem here. You don't know how much you're making. You don't know how much your profit margins are. You don't have systems in place. These are all huge red flags. And opportunities for growth, I guess, is the way I look at it. Is so I love those kind of answers when I'm going in to buy a business. Yeah. How much did you make? I don't know. I mean, what's your problem? I don't know. Yeah. Because they have no idea what the company's worth. They have no idea what. And so, as a buyer of a company in that situation, I'm all for it. But as long as they don't have some pie in the sky dream of what the company's valuation is. But going back to what you were talking about, though, as far as things I look for are, do they have systems in place? Can this be replicatable without them? The worst thing a person can say to me is, it wasn't for me, this business wouldn't be around, or something. You know what I mean? It's like so many people act as if their business is 100% only there because of them and not their team. And it's like, and I flat out told a guy one time, because he was just being cocky about it, and he was like, I built this, I did that, and so we're walking through the warehouse, and he's showing us all this stuff, and he said, it wasn't for me, blah blah blah. And I called him on it, and I says, well, why the hell would I buy this business? I said, you're not going to be here. I was like, I don't want you here when I buy the business, so what am I buying if you're not going to be here, and if it was all built because of you, and you're not here? And boy, he was backpedaling quick then. After he didn't know what to say.
And that's it, Ron. Is unfortunately you get these guys that are probably like a type A personality. They've built something from nothing. They've got a lot of pride in what they've done, but they don't realize the poison pill that they just put into the deal. Yep. Is that as soon as you walk out the door, you have nothing else. You got no skin in the game. The sweat equity. I don't care.
Right.
At the end of the day, if the numbers don't crunch, when you walk out the door, your baby is going to be the most beautiful baby in the world. But if it don't keep the lights on, it doesn't
That's
make
it.
sense.
It doesn't make sense. The numbers got to make sense. And yeah, some people get a reality crunch on there. I had a guy come to me one time, who's trying to sell me a business for $5 million. And 6 months later, he came back to me and we closed on that business for $990. So yeah, he had a real reality check, and I told him, I said, fine, go out there and see what else
Yep.
somebody else will offer you. And then he came back to me after 6 months, and I ended up buying that business for $990.
And those skills, again, going back to your past in the correction system as a jail guard and prison guard, did you find that some of the skills were transferable in regards to reading people?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. The skills that I learned in the prison system, and it's not because it was the prison system, but that's where I learned them, was reading people. And I know this sounds weird, and I know this kind of sounds tough guyish, but when I got in a fight in the prison, I learned I don't have to be tougher than this guy. I just have to take one more punch than he's willing to take. Right. And so I transfer that over to business as well. Right. And so I don't have to be the best guy in business. I just have to last longer than that guy. You know what I mean? And last longer than the competition. I just got to last one more hit longer is all I got to do. And so, that makes a huge difference when you start looking at things.
Well, I think it makes entrepreneurship more accessible, right?
Yeah.
Everybody nowadays, especially with social media, and we talk about this a lot on our regular show, Soaring Prophets, on Thursday night. We talk about the influencer aspect, and here we are on a podcast, right? for what it is.
Right.
But the influencer mentality that everyone's driving Lambos and you gotta sell your soul to Bitcoin and all of these things. You don't have to do that. There's 1,001 ways to make $1 and put food on the table for your family and be very successful. And that's sort of what financial fitness is sort of all about. Is that we've interviewed individuals from all different perspectives and on the spectrum, from Stanford grads to individuals that have started REITs to blue collar backers, right? And your businesses probably look very different than some of these other businesses, but they're making money at the end of the day.
I mean, it's funny. Here's the one thing that I find so interesting is if you're looking to just make money, right? If like for instance, I'm all about making money. That when people ask me what my hobby is making money. You know what I mean? What do I enjoy? It's making money. At the end of the day, that's what excites me. I like taking on a new challenge and making money. I don't have to have, they say do what you love, and all that. And what I love is making money.
Yeah.
And going out and taking my family on vacation or hanging out at the beach, right? And so, I bought a cleaning business one time for $75,000. This lady was making $125,000 take home herself on the business. I bought it for $75,000 and turned it into $1 million business in under a year by just grabbing more contracts, putting in systems in place, and blah blah blah. And then I just sold the business. After running it for 2 years, I sold the business for 3x. And so it's totally doable, and you just have to have the vision and the desire to do it. I mean, like I told you before, I mean, everybody has the skills. I don't care if you're flipping burgers at McDonald's. I don't care if you're mopping floors at a high school. I don't care what it is that you're doing right now. You already have the skills in place. Mm-hmm. Nearly every adult, if you can write and read, you literally have the skills in place to create $1 million business.
Yeah. So how does that integrate into what you've done with mentoring giants and the $1 Million Mentor? Because again, you make it seem very approachable. You got that lovable exterior, right? What more could you ask for a guy that could be mentoring you? How do you bring that back for your people that are talking to you and working with you within your organization there?
I keep it simple. I honestly, it's the simplest thing, and it's the fastest path to cash, right? And so that's what I focus on. I was like, okay, this is your low hanging fruits. You know, if somebody comes to me, matter of fact, I got a client right now. He's making $200,000 a year, and he wants to get to where he's making $1 million a year, and that's his take home. 200,000 a year is take home. And I said, okay, he's been with me 4 months now, and we've already got him up to 800,000. And so all we did was just change a few things, right? It's changing the systems, changing some of his thinking, right? Give you an example. He's like, and this goes with a lot of people. A lot of the people that I mentor. He said, I'm having a real problem keeping on, holding on to staff. That's a lot of problem. Yeah, a lot of people have that problem. I said, okay, great. I said, who's your number one guy? And it's got to be this guy, whatever his name was. I said, okay. Is he married? Yeah, he's married. How many kids he got? I don't know. I said, when's his birthday? I don't know. Okay. I said, okay. Well, how old is his kids? I don't know. And he got the point. He got the point, right? And so he got, after a few questions like that, he got the point. He's like, you need to invest a little bit more time in building a team and not focusing on so much on just hiring and taking from and just thinking that the money is the only exchange, right? And so you work, you put in your 8 hours, and I give you money. And that's just not that doesn't keep people around.
No.
And so,
and it's certainly not conducive to creating an environment where, you were talking about your hobby of making money. You're going to pay people top dollar to retain them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? It was so funny because just watching a video right before this, I was watching a video that popped up on my YouTube. It said, the top 20 side hustles that nobody wants to do. And out of those, and I didn't get a chance to watch it all, but the first 4 or 5 of them, I've owned those businesses. I was like, wait a minute, I've owned those businesses. And every one of those were, based on strong employee retention, right? And having a good, strong team around you. And in order to do that, though, you've got to pay them well. And my guys were paid always the highest in the industry. My guys are always the highest paid in the industry, but they never left, I mean, so unless it was extreme circumstances or they went off and built their own business, which I always encourage. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, you pay them well, you treat them well, and you take care of your team, and they'll take care of you. There's a certain point where you're not running a business anymore. You're running the team, and your main focus is to take care of your team, and they'll run the business.
And Ron, those are absolutely words to live by in any facet. The relationships that you can foster, that kind of that old adage of your net worth directly resembles your network, right? And I love that. Ron, tell me, how do people get in touch with you? And give me your kind of 10-second elevator pitch for the $1 Million Mentor and the Mentoring Giants.
Okay, well, if you're looking to make $1 million, $1 million a year, that's my thing. I can get you there. I can get you there quickly. It's no frills. It's not a whole bunch of bull crap. It's not a bunch of. It's all customized for everybody. Where they're at and where they're trying to go, and I customize it for those people. And it's one-on-one with me directly. That's it. I keep it very small. I only take on 3 or 4 people a month, and I deal with them directly myself. And so if that's something you're interested in, you're more than welcome to go to my LinkedIn if you'd like, and I will give you a free 15 minutes. Just sit and we'll chat about your business and see if I can help you with your business. And so reach out to me through LinkedIn. You can reach out to me through Mentoring Giants and book a call. I'll be more than happy to talk with you and see if we can help you.
Ron, I think it's fantastic. I love what you're doing in the space and that you're helping individuals that otherwise that dream might be a little bit out of reach for them. So, Ron, it was a pleasure. You're a gentleman and a scholar, like I said at the beginning. It was a really enjoyable conversation, pal. And Soaring Prophets, folks, check us out on Thursday Night Live. We've got another great one coming up tomorrow night, and we'll see you then. As always, folks, let's make some money together.